everybody. Welcome to the Stack Ahead podcast. I'm your host, Shubhangi, and today we are joined by Carol Constant. A little bit about Carol. She has a corporate background in learning and development and human resources. She has worked for Fortune 500 companies across 6 countries and 3 different continents, working for corporations like Ford and Estee Lauder. She's a leadership top voice in LinkedIn, winner of 2024 Leader of the Year by Digital Women, and voice of the new era of leaders by Female Factor. Obviously, a very, very inspiring person. She is a certified DEI strategist, a G100 council member for pay parity and corporate transformation. She founded WhomLab, a human resources technology company that helps managers build high performing balanced teams by matching people to jobs and people to teams. So, welcome, Carol, to the show. Would you like to add anything to that?
That was a fantastic introduction. I don't have to add anything. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Great. So obviously, Carol, this is like my first question to everybody who comes on the podcast. I think the first question really is, you had like a very transformative and a big journey in this area. How did you like end up starting your own company, and then how did you navigate, your career in this all these span of time? And how do you think technology as a sector has, been like a transformative force in that?
Yes, well, that's a question we could be just the whole podcast talking about it. But just so I work in corporate in Europe, for example. Yeah, and I started here, and then I was in different places, as you mentioned, and then I was in Australia, and I was in Australia, but I was doing academia, so I was in a college. And when I came back to Europe, I went back to corporate, but then I realized this is not anymore. Doesn't fulfill me anymore, and I started looking at the possibility for me to have a startup, and I did, and technology is everything. You cannot have a startup without technology.
Yeah.
And it has changed how the landscape and how you start how I mean the how can I say the success factors for a startup has changed in the last, I would say, 2 3 years. You
Hmm.
cannot do it without, for example, in my opinion, you cannot do it nowadays without being part of several groups of founders, for example, having information, sharing this information, networking for everything, to getting talent, technical talent, to getting into events, to getting into pitching events, to getting into knowing about grants and investors. You cannot do it alone. Forget about it. Doesn't matter how good you are and how much your knowledge. You really need to be interconnected. And
Yeah.
technology is a huge part of it. And that's one of the reasons why I joined Google as an ambassador for women in tech. A couple of days ago, they sent me a jumper, and I've been wearing it
Nice.
everywhere. And yes, it is huge. It is huge.
Yeah, no, that is a very, very interesting answer. So,
Mhm.
do you think there were any, pivotal moments that, shaped your journey? Like something very specific that you would like to talk about?
Um, no, it was more like, the glass is getting full and it gets the last drop and it's like, that's it. I'm going. Now or never, or I'll regret it. What I don't like is not doing something and then regret it later. I prefer to try and fail, okay, but at least I tried. That's
Yeah.
how my mind works.
Yeah. So, for example, like when you worked across different roles, were there any specific challenges that you faced? And I think the main thing I want to ask is like what kind of challenges, let's say, you face and how did you transition across them and, sailed through basically?
There is always challenges. I mean, um, life is hard in my in my
Yeah.
experience, and work life is hard, and there's always challenges. When I went to a different country and a different culture, different ways of doing things, not just at work but also personal life. Everything is changing. You need to be able to adapt and be flexible. Luckily, I'm quite flexible in that sense. I can adapt. I'm a problem solver. That's something that is, I'm not that kind of rigid mentality, so for me it's easy. I've been,
Yeah.
my father worked for a big company, and I moved like 30 times. For me it's like kind of natural to move and go to places.
Yeah.
And so, but I understand that some for some other people with a different experiences might be a challenge, and that's when it comes handy to have somebody you can trust, that you can, or more than one person, that you can
Yeah.
ask for advice, and you can say, okay, how did you do it this time? This is the problem that I have at this moment. What options are there? Because sometimes the problem is you don't even see the options that are there. You
Yeah.
don't even think about them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in this whole process, or in this whole journey, were there any specific people who inspired you, like you always look up to, like everybody has some of those
Yes.
people.
I actually was very lucky and unlucky, and like everybody, I guess. At work, I had very good bosses, let's call it that way. And for example, my last boss in Australia, she was absolutely amazing. She was like my mentor. She
Yeah.
really guided me and helped me, empowered me, and it was great. It's so different when you really feel supported at work, and that way you can grow much more than you anticipated. Yes, definitely. There
Yeah.
is you need allies, and if you don't have them, you need to look for them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think the next question on that set would be like, if you were starting your career again in this
Mhm.
field, what would you change, or would you keep it exactly the same way?
Look, I'm not too sure because even the other day I was thinking, will I do the same? I'm not sure whether I'll do the same. Maybe I'll try something different just because this one I know what is there. But if I started, for example, if I started from the point that I when I built my startup, I will do differently. That I would network more. And that's why I
Okay.
insisted so much. Networking is hugely important. I didn't, everybody knows, but you don't really know until you see the impact that it has.
Yeah.
So networking definitely, even to look for talent, to build your startup, etc. So for so much, it makes a huge difference.
And so, how do you think, like, because this is a very common question, if you go anywhere, is asked, like, how do you network effectively? Because a lot
Hmm.
of people go to networking events, and
Yeah.
obviously, like, it's difficult for a lot of people to, come be the first person to say hello or, like, even introduce themselves. So, how do you think somebody can do, like, be a better
Yes.
person on that?
You will not believe it probably, but I'm extremely I hate going to some places and talk because I'm an introvert again, I kind of pretend that I'm not, but I just cannot do it. It's like it goes beyond me. So sometimes for me it helps that I go with somebody else and
Yeah.
she's the one doing, yes. Or sometimes I just say, "Oh, come on, you have to do it. You have to do it." But my way to networking is not so much face to face. Then when I start, I'm good. As you can see, I can talk and so on. But for me, is breaking the ice and just approaching somebody that you don't know at all and start talking. So what I do instead, I do a lot of networking through groups on LinkedIn, on Slack, on WhatsApp, and so on. That's what really helps me more than face to face. I have to admit, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So if let's say somebody is entering a room and there are a bunch of people and they don't know, let's take a situation, what would you be your like top three tips? Like in the sense like how they can break the ice and at least have a conversation with
Yes.
somebody.
So in my case, maybe because I am a woman, I normally go for a woman. So
Yeah.
if I go and I will go for a woman,
Mm.
and depends on the event. I would say if this is the first time that the typical questions. I don't have the magical three things, but the main thing for me is go to somebody that I think it looks nice and kind,
Yeah.
and smile, and just maybe don't be try to avoid don't be too long with the same person because your goal is to mingle and to be with more people,
Yeah.
and just I guess that for them is as difficult as it is for me.
Mm.
So it is a relief in a way. So okay, one more to the list, and in sometimes you find really very very interesting people.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Yes.
So I think the next set of questions I'm gonna ask you is about like how did you end up finding a company? So what motivated you to start your own company, and then how did that whole idea came about?
Yes. So as we mentioned before, I've been in many different
Hmm.
cultural environments in different companies. And I really think that we can be happier at work. So I
Yeah.
had experiences of being very happy at work and in, oh my goodness, I could do this for free. I hope nobody hears me, but I just love coming to work. Or oh my goodness, I absolutely hate this. Is like, nah, cannot make it anymore. No?
Hmm.
So, and it's always because of people. It's not the job in itself. The job might be the same in this company or the next company. It is the people. It's the people working there, and that's why I, for my own experience doing hiring or promotion and so on, but mainly doing hiring, it is, you need to match not just the person to the job, which is what everybody is doing, but you need to match the person to the team, because that what really makes the difference. That is going to make, okay, this person is going to stay with us, or this person is going to leave in 3 6 months, is not going to be okay. So that's what really was my motor to say, yes, I want to make this more effective. It's not effective, it's kind of intuition that I want to do it, to do this matching based in data, and it is possible. So, and especially now with AI, so yeah, let's do it. I want to try it, and I know that it's possible because I've been doing it. So hopefully this will begin being the norm everywhere, and you don't have to suffer at work. You can be really happy. Let's be happy, no? Why not? You match with certain people, and other person will match with another person. There's no one profile that is the best. It is just to do the matching. It's like a puzzle. You need to put the puzzle together.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And I think this is
Mhm.
a really good way of thinking about, why, like, for example, starting a company with like a idea in mind. So I think the next question comes from the same question, like you found a problem that you thought should be solved, because that's how most of the companies start. And
Yes.
what kind of, for examples, hurdles you faced when you went from idea to execution, or like things that you were considering before, starting it out.
Yeah, so for example, coming for corporate, in my case, I was very specialized. I was used to doing one thing, and
Hmm.
but when you are a startup founder, you have 2 million hats. You need to do
That's, yeah.
absolutely everything, and then you need to find the people you are going to work with, and it is not just that they are compatible with you, you are good as a team, but they also need to have the technical knowledge, because
Yeah.
you can be great friends, let's say, not friends, but great colleagues, but then technically it is not a fit, or the opposite. So that was the main challenge, because a startup, the main cause for a startup to fail, it is the money and it is the team. So it is extremely important. And that was the challenge. And especially being a female founder, yes, funding was a challenge as well.
Yeah. Okay. So what has been, for example, like your like one or two proud moment in this like phase so far, like, of your entrepreneurial journey? Like,
Proud moments.
yeah,
Well, wow, I have a few. For
yeah.
example, we got in London this spring. We got the Technology and Innovation Award. So that
Mm,
was really, we were super happy. There's another one that I was just a couple of months ago named the most influential HR CEO in Central Europe. That was also really, I was very happy, and we just won a EU grant, European Union grant. So that's just a couple of weeks ago. So these are milestones that really set you up for
mm.
for growth, and that's the important. Yeah, they have so many. I could not, that I could be, many. Of course, there are other times when you lose, or it's very very difficult. But yeah, this really pushes you forward.
Yeah. So, like when you are on this entrepreneurial journey, right? Like
Mhm.
people, I have heard people saying this, that, you have to hire smart people, or like
Mhm.
people who can like be self-managed. So, for example, when you started out, how did you end up building a team that,
Mhm.
propels the whole thing forward?
Yeah, so in this case, I have an advantage because
Yeah.
I've interviewed a lot of people and I can see the red flags. Let's call them red flags. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, I remember once I interviewed a person who was technically perfect. It was
Yeah.
perfect, but I saw immediately it was going to be very difficult on the personal side. This
Yeah.
person has some traits very obvious to me as an
Hmm.
expert, let's say,
Yeah.
very obvious to me. This person was going to be extremely difficult. It was not going to be, that person was not okay to work in a team, not just with me. Like,
Yeah.
yes, had some traits that were a bit difficult, and even if it was a good match technically, I said no. So in that case, for me, it was easier to find. Of course, they are all. For example, one of the reasons why I also joined Google for women tech makers was because I wanted more women as technical part of my team, because I'm very much into women empowerment and women in tech. And I tried three, for example, three different in a row candidates, and I wasn't sure of it, but I wanted to give it a go. And then they were not a match, technically a match, but still I wanted to give that chance. Yeah. So it is not a straight line for anybody, but you need to try it, and just be aware that it is not going to be. I mean, it's very very difficult that you start and wow, that's it, perfect. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is a process.
Okay. Okay. So, like, a lot of people say that like somebody should be hired for like the way their attitude is more than their
Mm.
skills. So, do
Yes,
you believe
correct.
that it is true?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so you like basically like if somebody doesn't have the right skills for a particular job, like specific skills, so like and like they don't as long as they demonstrate the right attitude to learn, they should be hired over somebody who, let's say, has a better skill set.
Yes, at this moment, for example, right at this moment, I have somebody
Yeah.
who we are training a little bit. So this person has the right attitude, doesn't know, is a bit junior,
Hmm.
but it's very important that you can trust the person and we can trust.
Hmm.
And this person is growing and learning with us, because as you said, it's more important,
Hmm.
the right attitude and this desire to grow and to learn. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
If it
Great.
is within certain limits, that's something that it can be done, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So if you could, if you want to change, let's say, one thing about your founder journey, like
Mm.
if would there be anything you want to change? That's the first question. If let's say you say yes, I would want to change this thing, then what would be that thing?
No, I think that more or less all the mistakes that I made, they were good because I learned from them.
Yeah.
And of course there are many things, if I had a crystal ball, but no, more or less it's okay. It's part of the journey. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. I think they definitely make you learn a lot more than you would have learned otherwise. And yeah.
Yes.
So I think the next set of questions I'm gonna be asking is about the topic of the hour, generative AI.
Yes.
Everybody's talking about it, so why not? But it's more gonna be from your from your lens, like the hiring lens, I would say.
Yes.
So
Okay.
first question is like from your perspective, how is AI reshaping the hiring industry right now?
Well, it's just starting. Well, uh, what we have seen so far is like a tiny percent of what is coming,
Yeah.
for what we can see. So right now, AI has been used for years for screening CVs, for example, but it's really not very good at this part. And
Yeah.
there's been several crashes in that sense, because as you know this better than anybody, your models will be as good as your data. If your data is biased, your models will be biased,
Yeah.
etc., etc. So that is what's been happening in the past. Then what is happening right now quite a lot is you are going to have to be used to be interviewed by an avatar. That was
Yeah. That's what I've also heard recently. Yes.
I don't know if by this time next year anybody that who is a person will be doing interviews. Not sure. It's
Okay.
really coming strong.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and actually, it's one of the things that my team is working on. We are also going to jump on that train,
Yeah.
because it is there, and everybody's asking for it. So if your clients ask for it, you need to do it. Yes.
Okay. So how does that work? Like, is the mod is basically the person or the AI virtual that is created is able to like ask questions based on the candidate's CV, or is it like more pre-trained based on the job description?
Um, a bit of, I mean, when you create the avatar, let's say for that way, it has a, I don't know how to say, like a programming, a certain programming, a certain data that to learn and how to be a good interviewer and so on. And then, of course, depends on each candidate. Then the type of questions might be a little bit different because
Yeah.
you need to ask a candidate about their CV. A
Hmm.
candidate needs to be able to explain
Yeah.
anything that is from their CV. So that's something that it is, yeah, customized for in each case, but it's that's like the minimum just before going. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I did read a lot of articles recently around
Hmm.
that like AI was being used obviously to like take interviews and hire people. So obviously would be really interesting to discuss more about that. So I think a lot of debate is going on around that as well. Like how should candidates perceive that sort of hiring? Like for example, if you were in a candidate's shoes, how would you like perceive that sort of hiring? Do you think it would be something which will be viable in the long run? And would that be basically able to do like a fair judgment of somebody's skills or like the behavioral aspects or let's say their attitude towards like the role or the job they're applying for?
I think that it will take a while to get used to
Yeah.
because we are not used to. But there are every study that you look at, when you have an interviewer, you have your own unconscious and personal bias. Yeah. So an avatar doesn't have, if the data doesn't have, the avatar doesn't have it. So it doesn't matter if you're a man, you're a woman, you are old, you are not, you have a beard, you know, speak a different language. So it is supposed to be less biased, and that's the
Hmm.
point of it. Otherwise, yeah, we are doing a bad job. So it should be better for the candidate, actually, better
Yeah.
for the hiring process. That's why you will keep it. Otherwise, it will have to be modified. But there is, it's just it. Look, they are already. You must have read this, and they are already companies that are doing it, and they can see there is an improvement. There it is more effective at choosing candidates that are more diverse, etc. So, and giving rankings to candidates and so on. So it can be done. It just need a lot of hours. You cannot do it cheap, let's say. Yeah, you need to do it properly.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. So I think the next thing is like, the job market is obviously transition, not just because of the AI avatars in place, but also just because AI as a whole thing has really swept in faster than one would have imagined.
Mm.
So how do you think, like, for example, people ask questions like, oh, how do I make my CV better? Or like, how do I stand out in the job market? So what are your tips for those people who are, let's say, either looking for their first job or let's even transitioning careers across in any sector to like
Mhm.
basically stand out or like build a CV that actually works?
Yeah. So CVs also are almost dead. I'm
Yeah.
bringing the news. So everybody is using AI to do CVs. Everybody
Yeah.
is using AI to do the cover letters, and very soon there are going to be tools that is going to be beyond CVs. So in my experience, when I do for companies or when I have the companies, there is one area that people don't think about it or don't think much, but it's really important, especially when you are not just applying for junior, you are not just starting, even then, but especially after that. And that is your LinkedIn. Your
Yeah.
LinkedIn is extremely important, and and people don't realize, and I, it's so important, especially women. I have seen LinkedIn's of a VP of a company that you know and everybody knows in this planet, and it was very bad. Sorry, I have to say it was not even okay. It was bad. It was bad. So you really need to look at. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just need to tick a few boxes. That's all. That's all. It's really not complicated. It will take you half an hour to do it, 1 hour. That's it, and it's done and it's permanent. I'm not talking about your LinkedIn posting, no, just your permanent sections. Go to your permanent sections and make sure that they are um, optimized. That's it. That's all you need. But it's super important.
Okay, so essentially, obviously, like CVs are no longer the main thing. your LinkedIn is the main thing, and then make all the prominent sections, like for example the header and the bio, etc., to be like very.
Look, yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah,
the most important section, of course, you under name, correct?
yeah.
But the most important section is your about. Your about section, please make an effort there. So your about section is not what you put on top of your CV. It is
Mm,
different. You can ask AI to help you do it. That's really easy. You can upload your CV, for example, in on ChatGPT or your whatever you prefer, and say, look, I want an about section for my LinkedIn that is impactful and is memorable, and
yeah,
do a few iterations, and then you will have something nice. Why? Because your about section says a lot about you. It doesn't have a fixed structure as it has your CV or a cover letter, so you can see more into the candidate, and that's why it's important to have a nice one.
yeah, makes sense. So with that, I think the next question you already touched upon was like about a lot of women looking out for roles, and then obviously somewhere along the way learning how to use LinkedIn, editing profiles, and so on. So how like the AI avatars will ensure, like for example, there is like no bias in terms of like somebody getting hired or not. Like let's say there are three people sitting for the interview, and there is one female candidate. Let's say there are two male candidates. So how can we drive like more, gender diversity as well, like when we talk about into hiring?
Yes. So I mean, there are different ways, but what you need to do is analyze the results and see whether you see any bias in
Mm,
there, and then you need to correct the model. But in many cases, you can do it that the results in the next step, they have no gender. So when they are doing the selection, let's say, there is no the model
yeah,
doesn't know whether it's a man or a woman. Just see
okay,
the data, and that doesn't affect at all because it's not there.
yeah.
So, for example, there are different ways. Mhm.
Okay. So I think one more question I have on this is like, for example, there is a female candidate returning to work
Mhm,
after like
mhm.
a gap, like an year
Yes.
gap. So I think I'm sure you would have come across some candidates of that sort. So
Yes.
what do you recommend to them, like the strategies to like come back to a career, whichever they want to, and like what they should do to like, upskill themselves, for example, because if, for example, if you are in tech, the things move way faster, but even though in other industries it's kind of the same. So what things they can do to like upskill themselves and like stand out?
Yes. So it really depends on how long that gap is. It's not the same. You were absent for 1 year, okay, you were absent for 5 years.
Yeah,
As you say, upskilling is a way to do it, so they can see that you are really willing to learn, etc., etc. But also how you sell this in the sense of um, it is extremely it's not easy to be a mom. Yeah, if
yeah,
we're talking about a mothers, it's not easy at all, and you really learn in putting into practice a lot of skills, correct?
yeah,
Negotiation skills, yeah, with your kids, like for all um I have seen candidates that really reframe it in that sense, or time management, etc., etc. So um sell it as an experience, like when you it's not the same, but when you go for a gap year, or when you take time also to take care of an elderly person. So try to sell it from the point of view, okay, I gained these skills while I was during this gap. Yes, so that's the
yeah.
that's the way that I think that works the best.
I think the word that we're looking here is transferable skills, like,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that is actually a very good point, because I have heard this question from a lot of people, so I think this will definitely help them a lot. um so I think the next question is like, so how do you see AI impacting jobs and the skills in the next, I will not say 5 years because it is moving way fast, but let's say in the next 1 year.
In the next 1 year. Yes, as you say, with the time frame, what I see, I think in the next year we're still in that changing phase. At a longer rate, everybody says that the change is going to be so huge that we cannot even
Yeah,
imagine it. Yes, but there's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be a readjustment, and what I believe, and everybody think is the same. You really need to learn. Agents are going to be commonplace.
yeah,
Is is going to be another member of the team. There are already AI agents that are CEOs. I mean, you know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yeah.
if you are a manager, you will have certain people on your team that are people, yes, there are people that they are going to be AI agents. So it's going to be hybrid teams a lot
Yeah.
in almost everything, not just technology.
Yeah.
So yes, they are here. They're already here.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. Like, I completely also agree with you. I think you must have already heard this. Like, this line is so common since generative AI came. Like, AI will not take your job, but someone using AI will. And so I think the question here is like, what's your take on that? And what do you think, like, the scenario might be? Because a lot of people still think the same way about the statement that AI will actually take their jobs.
hmm Well, I think it might be a matter of time. Depends on the time frame that you're looking at. There are experts saying that, you know, in a few years, let's say when we will just live we will be given an allowance and we don't have to work anymore because the AIs will be doing everything. But I don't know when that is going to be. Um, but I think it is like when the where the computers were introduced a few years ago. If you don't know how to manage AI, and AI doesn't mean just ChatGPT,
Yeah,
you know this better than me. So you really will be like illiterate. You will not be able to interact and to do anything. So you really
yeah,
need to learn, need to be updated on what is happening. And as you know, everything goes very, very quickly. So if you find it interesting, I find it very interesting. It is something that you love learning because it's really going to impact all of us.
yeah, yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I think like my perspective on that is like, as you long as you use AI to accelerate what you are currently doing, you're
Correct.
still gonna be very ahead in the race, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, humans have built it. So like we still have the cognitive ability. So yeah,
Yes.
again, yeah. So so I think the next set of question is more around like hiring in tech trends,
Okay.
essentially. Um, so apart from all the tech skills which we already discussed and stuff, what other things are looked when people hire? Like what specific skills? Let's say soft skills. A lot of people say are
Mm.
important. So what do you think are like your, you would say like top three soft skills that actually matter? Because like there are a lot of things which matter, but there is a weightage. Like the if somebody has these three, four skills, then they obviously have a lot more chances of getting
Yes.
selected for a role.
Yeah. One very important one is communication skills, and everybody think that the communication skills are good,
Yeah.
but that's not the case.
Hmm.
So many you I will suggest that you get an assessment on your communication skills. Yeah. So
Yeah.
some people they really, for example, some people they really talk for a long time.
Hmm.
They don't realize they are talking for a long time, and that kills
Yeah.
the interview. Yes, that really kills the interview. It's better to talk less than to talk too much. Let's say no, within limits. But that's communication skills are really important because then that's how you work in teams, correct? Or how you report, etc., etc. So, and you can learn them.
Yeah.
That is what makes really can make a difference. That you can actually learn. Okay, here. I have seen so many, especially sometimes with technical people. Yes, that they
Yes.
don't know they're doing a presentation, for example. Very recently, they were doing a presentation, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this person has no idea. I realize this person has no idea, and I don't really know how to tell them, or even if to tell them, but their career will be so much better if this person just knew how to communicate better. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So, so that is key. That is key. In verbal communication mainly, because more or less we all know how to communicate, or more or less, yes.
Yeah.
Written communication and so on. But yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, I think the next question is, how do you balance experience versus potential when evaluating candidates?
Yes. So, for example, it depends on if I'm doing it for a client or myself. So I prefer, and the tendency also in the market is evaluating on potential. So Up to a few years back, you will just look at the CV, you look at the past. And you were like the past was telling you the future. But now, and especially for example, we do gamified recruiting for that reason. Because we are looking at the future, we are looking at your potential. What
Yep.
is it that what is your learning ability? What is your flexibility? Because nowadays you need to be almost continuously learning, and you need to be flexible, you need to be able to adapt and so on. So that is extremely important, more than ever, and it's going to get even more potential,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What can organizations do to create better inclusive hiring practices?
Hmm. Well, one of them could be, for example, to do an analysis, or see where you are at this moment, where the company is at this moment, because
Yeah.
otherwise everything is a little bit low, everything is up in there. Oh, let's improve. Okay, but what is the current situation? Because many times we don't know, correct? So do this analysis, this assessment, and then you can see where you want to go, and then you can build a bridge and see which tools you are going to use. But it's really important to know where you are now and not just guess. No, don't do guesswork, because that's not going to be really effective. You have the data, look into it. Hmm.
Okay. So essentially, they should look into the data to make sure that they are like having like hiring practices that supports diversity and inclusion.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hiring and promotion as well. That's really important. Identify there about any bottlenecks, any departments, because if you look at the data, for example, if it's a bigger company, look at all the data, every department, that's not going to be very meaningful. You need to look into it, into the different sections, and break it down.
Okay, I think the next question probably is the last question of this segment.
Okay?
Is around like a lot of females they want to obviously grow into leadership roles eventually, and you obviously are one of those people who are in leadership roles. So, what essentially they can do to like climb the career ladder,
Yep.
so that they're not stuck, let's say, on mid senior levels or junior levels.
Yeah, what I recommend every woman who wants to go into leadership positions is they need to build alliances with men.
Okay,
It's extremely important. Why? Because men still they have access to circles that women do not,
yeah.
or their opinion carries certain weight. So, of course, build alliances with women. Yes, that is important, but build alliances with men, because they can put the word when you are not there, for example, and that's taking you to a different level. That's really important.
Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, yeah, I agree. It's a good
Okay.
point to make. So I think with that, we have come to the end of this segment. So now I'm gonna ask you a bunch of fun rapid fire questions,
Okay.
which are mostly going to be like one-worded answers. And yeah, a lot of people before you they gave actually longer than one word, but yeah, please try to give one-word answers. So firstly, have you learned a programming language? Yes or no?
Yes.
Which was your first programming language?
C plus. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I learned C++ as well. Favorite tech gadget you cannot live without?
Take out something silly like my this one. Mhm.
Light mode or dark mode?
Light.
Okay. One app that you open first thing in the morning.
Like the
AI tool that you use most.
I would say ChatGPT.
One AI myth you wish people would stop believing.
Which button, sorry?
One AI myth that you think
Myth.
yeah, that people should
Mm.
stop believing.
Oh, I'm not sure. Which one? Oh, that's a difficult one. Oh, AI is going to kill us all.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. We'll take it. Most exciting AI innovation right now.
Um, I would say the agents, if that's yeah,
One,
sophisticated.
okay. One quality every founder should have.
Resilience.
Yeah, definitely. Best career advice you ever got in one line.
Best career advice. If you believe you can make it, you will.
Okay. Biggest hiring red flag in a candidate.
Me.
Okay. I want you to elaborate that later on, but yeah, not just now. One skill every tech professional should learn today.
Teamwork. Working a team.
Okay. If you weren't working in your current role or current job, what career would you choose?
Mm. Something, a lawyer for human rights.
Okay. And then last question is, if you could have a dinner with one leader, past, present, who would it be?
Oh my goodness. With one leader. Marie Curie.
Okay, great. I think that's a wrap. Thank you, Carol, for coming on the podcast. It was great having you. I just want to tell you, you are an inspiration, not for just me, but for a lot of women out there. And whatever you have done so far is truly incredible and it's truly empowering. So, just a huge shout out and keep up all the good work you have done.